Hello everyone, welcome to my channel or back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something different for me. I've never really ever posted about this on my channel or talked about it on my channel. It's also not something that I really talk about in my personal life either. But being that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, more specifically this week, and so I thought that now would kind of be a good time to share with you guys my story of living with a mental illness. I do want to say that if talking about mental health or mental illness, anxiety is something that kind of triggers something in you, please do not watch this video. I don't want to cause that to happen to anyone. My story is based around anxiety. That is the mental illness that I have, and it started years before I was actually diagnosed. It starts back when I was in grade 7. I had just transferred or moved from elementary school to middle school. When I was in grade 7, when I moved from elementary school to middle school, I didn't know that it was my anxiety. And now looking back, when I was diagnosed with my anxiety, I could put 2 and 2 together and connect that that's what it was. But at the time, when I was in grade 7, I didn't know what it was, because at that time, anxiety wasn't really talked about. It wasn't really out there compared to as much as it is now. So it just wasn't something that I really knew about. Started in grade 7, I had moved from elementary school to middle school. That's when things got really bad for me. Grade 7 was a really rough year for me. I tend to just kind of block grade 7 out of my brain because it's kind of hard to think back on because of everything that happened when I was in grade 7. So I started grade 7, and basically I was away from school more than I was at school. School weeks are 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and if I got to school 3 days a week, that was like a good week for me. I had moved to a middle school where I had never been before, and I was just gonna know a handful of people. I didn't know anyone in the grades above me. I didn't know any of the teachers. I wasn't really familiar with the school in any way. It was a whole new thing for me being at a new school. It started off that I would just say to my mom, I'm not feeling well. My stomach is bothering me when I get up in the morning. In the beginning, she let me stay home because I was saying that I wasn't feeling very good. I felt nauseous. And so she would let me stay home. And then it got to the point where it was happening all the time. Like, it was happening week after week after week after week, like almost every day it was happening. And I would wake up in the morning and I would start to get ready, or try to get ready, and I would just dilly-dally, and my mom would come into my room, or I'd go to my mom asking if I could stay home. I'd be crying to stay home, saying that I didn't want to go to school, that I didn't feel very good. Over time, I got nervous to go to my mom and tell her that I wasn't feeling very good, so I would kind of dilly-dally in my room, and I'd wait for her to come into my room and ask me what's going on, why I'm not getting ready, because I was just so often asking her if I could stay home. It would end in screaming matches, in me bawling my eyes out, and I'd be yelling at my mom, begging her to let me stay home because I wasn't feeling very good. Multiple mornings, multiple times a week this was happening. Over time, with that happening more and more, we figured it was something to do with my stomach. So basically once a month, my mom was taking me to the doctor going, something is wrong. She keeps saying that her stomach is bothering her, that she's not feeling good, that she feels nauseous, that she doesn't want to go to school. And she would have to like force me in the car in the mornings to take me to my doctor. And she'd be like, Hannah, I'm phoning the doctor. We're going in right away to go and see him. Like, enough's enough of this. And he never ran any tests on me. He never checked me for anything. Nothing came up about mental health, like anxiety, anything of that kind. And so we just kind of went on our way, and it continued to happen day after day, week after week, month after month. It was just an ongoing thing of me waking up every morning, begging my mom to let me stay home from school. There were also some days where things were just so bad. And of course, my mom had to go to work, so she couldn't just like dilly-dally in the morning like I was, you know, like she had to go to work. There were some mornings where she would say, Hannah, look, I have to go to work, I'm phoning your grandma. She will come and get you and she will take you to school. And I would scream at my mom, say, no, I don't want to go to school. Don't phone grandma. Like, I just want to stay home, because I didn't want my grandma to come and get me to take me to school, because I just wanted to stay home. So a couple times my grandma would come out and she would try and get me to go to school. Sometimes I'd make it, sometimes I wouldn't. Then there were some points where my mom would say that and she would just end up going, I have to go to work, I'm done, and she would just leave, and that would be it. Then there were the mornings where I was basically forced to get in the car to go to school because I was missing so much, and my mom would basically like force me into the car. I would be bawling my eyes out. I would purposely sit in the back seat of my mom's car because I didn't want people to see me when I got to school in the state that I was in, because it was just not very good. My mom would pull into like the parking lot that was at my middle school, and she would turn her car off. Millie! My mom would turn her car off because she knew that I wasn't getting out of the car anytime soon. She would sit there and basically just say to me, Hannah, you need to get out of the car. I'm not leaving until you get out of the car and go to school. And I would just beg her to take me home because I didn't want to be at school. And so sometimes she would turn around and drop me back off at home. Other times I would get out of the car and I would make it into school, but I would still be kind of like upset and crying a little bit. It was just the mornings in grade 7 were a really big struggle. Bottom line is, in grade 7, I just did not want to be at school. I didn't want to be at school whatsoever. And because I was away so much from school and saying that I didn't want to go to school and that I wasn't feeling very good, my parents would ask me if something was going on at school, if there was something happening with my friends, if there was something happening with a teacher, like if there's anything going on at school that was making me want to stay home. And I said no. There was nothing going on with my friends. I wasn't being left out. I wasn't being bullied. There wasn't a teacher that was like treating me badly or that I didn't like. Nothing of that kind. Like, there was nothing going on at school that didn't make me want to be there. I was kind of being left out by my friends, but not purposely. It was my own fault because I was away from school so much that I just didn't know what was going on. So that was my own fault because I was never at school. And when I was at school, it was like a joke of like, oh my gosh, look who's here today. Hi, like, you're here. But because I wasn't telling my parents like anything, and I would tell them that nothing was going on, they just thought something was going on at school and I didn't want to tell them. One day I had gone to my French class and I walked in and my French teacher came up to me and she said, you're not in class today. Your mom's made an appointment for you to talk to the school counselor. And I was kind of upset about it. I didn't really know what to think because I didn't want to go talk to the school counselor. So I had gone down to the counseling area to talk to the school counselor, and I think I saw her like twice or 3 times, and she had asked me similar things, if there was anything going on, if I needed any help and things of that kind. And I just kept telling her no, like nothing's going on, nothing's wrong, because it was true. Like I wasn't lying about the fact that nothing was going on. So I only saw her like twice or 3 times, and that was it, because it wasn't helping at all. And so it continued to almost every day a fight for me to get to school, constantly going back to my doctor and nothing happening. Saw the school counselor, nothing happened. And then I think a couple months after I had saw my school counselor, my mom then booked an appointment to go and see like a family counselor. Both of my parents were, my mom and my dad, were really just like, we don't know what to do because this has been going on for so long. And they kind of figured that maybe if I wouldn't talk to them about it, I would talk to someone else. And that maybe if they also talked to someone about it, they could get help on how to help me. And I only saw the family counselor for like twice because it just wasn't getting anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere. And on the days where I could stay home, where my mom would let me stay home, after begging and bawling my eyes out and yelling at her to let me stay home, I would feel better within like an hour. I would go on my day regularly. I would feel okay. Dinner, I'd be fine and stuff. And my parents would say, oh, like you look to be feeling better. Like you seem to be feeling better. And I would say, yeah, I am feeling better. And the next morning I would wake up in the same thing, bawling my eyes out, saying I wasn't feeling good, saying that I wanted to stay home, saying that I was feeling nauseous, that I was felt like I was going to throw up. And so they were confused as to why, like, in the mornings I was so bad, but then in the evenings and afternoons I was okay, and just going in a circle. So grade 7 was just like a constant spiral of things. So grade 7 was really the start of it, the worst of it. Grade 8 was better. I still had my mornings where I would be bawling my eyes out, crying, not wanting to go to school, but it was a lot better than grade 7 because I was more comfortable with the school. I knew more people at the school. I knew the teachers. I knew my way around the school. So it wasn't as bad, but I still had my mornings. And some days I would phone at midday and ask my mom if I could go home because I wasn't feeling great. Same within grade 7 as well. But grade 8 was a lot better of a year. Going into grade 9, I had once again moved from middle school to high school because at that time my middle school was grade 7, 8, and 9. And my high school was 9 through 12. And so I had moved from middle school to high school going into grade 9 because that was what the high school that I was going to be at because I was transferring out of my catchment, besides the point. So I was moving schools again, but this time when I moved from middle school to high school, it was a lot easier of a transition and I wasn't as anxious and nervous about it. I think it was for a couple of reasons. One, because I had done like a move of schools before. Two, I knew the school. I had been to the school a few times. I toured it. I'd been there before because my sister was at that school, so I had been there for like award ceremonies and dance performances. 3, my sister was at the school. I was going to the same school as my sister, so I think that kind of gave me a little bit of comfort knowing that she was at the same school as me every day. 4, I knew people already. I had danced with people that were going to be at the school, so I knew some people already. And then 5, I also knew people in the grades above me, so I knew people in my sister's grade because of my sister and her friends. So I knew more people in the grades above me. My sister was there. I was familiar with the school, so transitioning was a lot easier. I definitely did not have as many mornings where I was bawling my eyes out, asking to stay home, and that I wasn't feeling good. I think also some of it was the fact that we carpooled on our way to school. We picked up 2 other people. Just part of me didn't want to be like crying and bawling my eyes out in the car with them. And then I also didn't want to make other people late for school because of me and what I was going on. There were some mornings that were tough and I would get in the car and be kind of upset, and then my mom would take me to the doctor afterwards, but nothing compared to grade 7. So grade 9 was a pretty regular year. Nothing really bad happened. Grade 10 was the same. I was getting to school. I had some mornings that were difficult and tough, but in comparison to grade 7, it was absolutely nothing. Like I was able to get to school and do like a whole week. Then going into grade 11, things started to get bad again. I don't know what caused it. I don't know kind of what set it off to kind of spike back up again. Going into grade 11, the summer I was okay, and then for some reason when I started school, it was just back downhill again. The first 2 weeks of grade 11 were only like 9 days or something because we started on like a Tuesday. The first day was like a half day, so technically the first 2 weeks were only 8 days. And out of those 8 days, I think I was at school 4 days. And my friend actually asked me, she was like, our English teacher is wondering if you're still in the class because you just like haven't been there. And I was like, yep, still in the class, still here, like I'll be at school tomorrow. I was having some mornings where it was kind of tough for me to go to school, and I didn't want to go to school. I don't think there was as many tears in the morning and screaming and such as there was in grade 7, but I did have some difficult mornings. And so with having that and being back in a difficult state and having a hard time getting to school, once again, I had gone and seen my doctor, and he didn't really say anything. He didn't really test me for anything again, and I had just kind of been put on pills to kind of help with things. But at that time, I didn't think it was really much to do with my stomach because there wasn't like a difference in how I was feeling like physically. And so at that time, I had kind of started to think it was something to do with anxiety because I had heard a little bit more about it and other people dealing with it and stuff. And so I kind of like correlated the two together of, oh, maybe it's anxiety and that's what I'm dealing with. And so I had gone to see my school counselor, again because I needed to find a way to make it easier for me to get to school and to be at school. So I had went and seen my school counselor. I saw her like once a week, I think, for a couple of weeks. And so she gave me some things to do of like writing down how I was feeling and like what days I wasn't feeling great, that type of thing, which kind of helped, didn't really help. I also didn't really stick with it too much. And then she asked me if there's anything that she could talk to my teachers about or tell my teachers, or anything that she could do that would help make it easier for me when I was at school. And the one thing that I had said to her was, I don't like being called on when my hand isn't raised. It just made me really nervous because obviously if I didn't have my hand raised, I either didn't know the answer or I didn't want to say anything. I also am just not someone that likes to be called on in class because I don't like having all the attention on myself. So she actually told all of my teachers that I had that year that I didn't want to be called on unless my hand was raised because it made me like nervous and a little bit anxious. And so I was never called on unless my hand was raised. And then she also told my teachers kind of what was going on so they could be in the loop with things. So it kind of gave me a sense of like, it's okay, don't need to worry about it, like being in class is okay. And once again, when I was in middle school and high school, nothing was going on with my friends. I wasn't being bullied. I wasn't being left out. Of course, you have some kind of like friendship drama that goes on, but it wasn't enough that was gonna not make me want to go to school. Nothing in that sense throughout high school, middle school for me was going on. It was just, there was something going on inside me that was like, don't go to school. Grade 11, I saw my school counselor. Saw her for a couple of months, and then I'd gone back to my doctor and things really weren't like progressing in any way. And so finally, 4 years later, my doctor referred me to a psychiatrist. So to go and see someone that kind of deals with mental health and that type of thing, because we were just getting nowhere with anything. And with what I was talking about and saying, I was kind of like, I think it could be anxiety, but I'm really not sure. And of course, I didn't want to self-diagnose myself. So finally, he had referred me to see a psychiatrist, and I started seeing a psychiatrist in February of 2015. I did not tell anybody because I didn't want anyone to know that I was going to see a psychiatrist, because I didn't want people to think that I was weak, that I couldn't like control how I was feeling, that like my emotions and stuff were kind of controlling me and how I was. I didn't want anyone to think that way, so I didn't tell anyone that I was going to see a psychiatrist. I also want to mention that before I started seeing a psychiatrist, I really didn't want to talk to anyone. I really didn't want to go to any form of like therapy whatsoever. I just did not want to. I was really against it. Not because I didn't think that going and talking to someone was going to be worth it. Just at that point for me, I was like, I don't want to do it because I don't want to be seen as weak or as if I can't control how I'm feeling. But then there was just kind of one day that I was like, I can't continue living like this and like having a hard time going to school, not wanting to hang out with my friends, not wanting to even dance, like hibernating in my room when I was home, not really being super sociable. I was like, I can't live this way. So I was finally like, I need to go and talk to someone about it. I need to figure my shit out. It was also kind of like having difficulty going to school and that stuff, but like I said, I was also just really not myself. I was pulling back from a lot of things. I had dropped out of one of my dance blocks that semester. I wasn't doing the advanced dance anymore, which was really difficult for me because honestly, if I hadn't had done dance when I was in high school, I think my schooling situation would have been a heck of a lot different. So I had dropped out of my advanced dance that January. I told my dance teacher, who is amazing, that I just really wasn't feeling like I could give myself 110% like everyone else in advanced dance is. And I didn't want to feel like I was kind of holding them back because we were of that more advanced stage in dancing compared to our regular dance blocks. She had said to me, she's like, well, I feel like you're giving like 110%, like I want you to stay in advanced dance type of idea. And I had just said to her, like, I just really need some time to figure myself out, and I just feel like I wouldn't be able to be as present in advanced dance as I wanted to be. So I pulled out of advanced dance that year, that semester, and I just did my regular 11-12 dance block. My anxiety was causing me to pull back from things I really enjoyed doing. So February, I started seeing a psychiatrist. I saw her once a month for February, March, and April. And then I saw her every other week in May and June. And then at the end of June, I stopped seeing her because things were doing really well. I was doing really well. And both of us just kind of didn't really see me needing to see her so often. The first time I went and saw her, my parents came with me as well. At first she talked to all of us, asked us questions and such, and then she talked to just me, and then she talked to just my parents. And so when it was just me and her, she was asking me questions and stuff about school, about my home life, if there was anything that had happened that was like a traumatic situation or experience or anything of that kind that would have triggered my anxiety to be on high alert. And I said no. At that point, nothing really in my life has ever been super traumatic for me. The only thing that I could kind of think of at that point was that I had just had a close friend of mine pass away when I was in grade 9. That was the only thing, but I don't think it would have taken 2 years later for my anxiety to then be worse. So I was talking to her, and she had asked me if I was open to going on medication for my anxiety. At that point, because I had been on and off multiple pills for my stomach, I had told her that I didn't want to be on medication. I didn't want to be on prescription. And so she said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll do different exercises and things and such to help with my anxiety. And if things don't progress or get better, then would you be open to going on medication? And I said yes, because I was like, if nothing is going to help, and if the last resort is to put me on medication to be able to have me function normally, then I'd be open to it. But I have never been on medication for my anxiety. Things went well enough that I didn't need to do that. So I was diagnosed professionally. So I was diagnosed with mild generalized anxiety disorder, a moderate panic disorder with agoraphobia, which I had no idea what that was. But basically, agoraphobia is a fear of being in situations where escape might be difficult or that help wouldn't be available if things go wrong, which is 100% me in situations where I feel anxious and nervous. My anxiety really comes from social situations. I do not like situations or things where I can't get away or leave if I need to. So I don't like being in situations where I can't kind of get away if something were to go wrong. So I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety and then a panic disorder, because I get more panic attacks compared to anxiety attacks. My panic attacks are very physical. I started seeing her once a week, like I said, and we were doing exercises that were to help me with my anxiety, so breathing technique and such of that kind. And she was also getting me to go and do things that was going to make me become anxious, that I could practice these exercises to see what worked and what didn't, and if what I was doing was making a difference in how I was feeling. I saw her for February, March, April, May, June. So I saw her for 5 months, a little over 5 months. It really helped. It really made a difference. I was able to control how I was feeling, and I was starting to become myself again, and it made a really big difference. And like I said, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell any of my friends. I didn't tell any of my teachers. The only teacher that knew was my dance teacher, because I had to leave dance early on Thursdays to go to my appointment. She was the only teacher that knew. I didn't tell anyone else. I didn't tell any of my friends. Nothing whatsoever. I didn't tell anyone, and honestly, this is probably their first time knowing about it, because it's still not something that I really talk about or share with people. After that, when I finished grade 11, going into the summer was fine, was good. Going into grade 12, things were still super great. Grade 12 was probably the best year for me. I was really only at school for half days, because I was, with the courses that I was taking just basically dance. That was it. So I didn't really have any stress or anything to worry about. My friend group was super good. My friendships, everything going really well in grade 12. And I was definitely myself. I was hanging out with my friends. I was back in my advanced dance block, enjoying dance again, wanting to dance. And so it was just like a complete flip from how I was in like grade 11 to how I was in grade 12. And getting help definitely made that difference because I was finally able to know what was going on with me and why I was feeling the way that I was. Also, in grade 12, I started working as well. I started working my first job, and I think that also really helped because it was something that got me outside of my comfort zone, got me in a new environment, different situations. I think that also really helped as well. But then after that, after grade 11, things honestly for the past few years have been really good. Of course, I still go through my moments and times where I'm feeling anxious and my mental health isn't super great. With having been to a psychiatrist and knowing what's caused me to feel that way and living with it for 5+ years, I know how to get myself out of feeling that way. I know kind of what makes me feel anxious and what kind of makes my mental health not be super great, and I know what to do if I'm to help if I'm in that situation and to kind of get out of it. Because there have been a couple times in the past 5 years that my mental health hasn't been super great. I am able to like help myself because I know what it is and what is causing it, compared to when I was in grade 7 and grade 8, 9, and 10 before I was diagnosed. I didn't know what was causing me to feel the way that I was feeling, so I didn't know what to do to help it. It's going to be something that I live with for my entire life. It's not something that ever just goes away. That's my story with my anxiety and living with it and dealing with it. I wasn't diagnosed until 5 years after it had started, and to know what it really was. But knowing what it is and finding out what it was just like a weight lifted off my shoulders, because I had felt like I finally knew what was wrong with me. Even though if you have a mental illness, there is nothing wrong with you. Like having anxiety or having any other form of mental illness does not mean that anything is wrong with you whatsoever. I've never talked about it on my channel before at all. I never really talk about it in my personal life either. Not because I don't want to keep it a secret, not because I want to hide it, not because I don't want people to know. It's just something that I prefer to keep more to myself and more private. I think mental health for a lot of people is something that is really private to them, because I think there still is like a stigma around it. There is definitely more that could be done with it, so I think people still keep it to themselves because of that. But being that this month, more specifically this week, is mental health awareness, I thought that it was kind of like the perfect time to tell my story and what I've gone through. To anyone that is watching this that is kind of dealing with their mental health or whatever it may be, know that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. Nothing is wrong with you. That how you're feeling is okay, and that getting help and talking to someone is also okay too. I know that it can be a scary thing. I was really nervous about it. I didn't want to talk to anyone, but getting the help and talking to someone really made a big difference for me. I appreciate you guys watching this video and sitting through it and hearing me talk about my story with my anxiety. It's something that's going to continue on. Like I said, anxiety isn't just one of those things that goes away. Once again, I really appreciate you guys taking your time to watch this video and to listen to my story about my anxiety and my mental health. I hope everyone is doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.